Have a Nice Summer by Matthew Scott Montgomery. Isn't it so sad? I mean, they just found her body lying there, Roxy said, staring off into space. The fries she was swirling around in her dipping tray had already maximized its ketchup soakage a couple dozen swirls ago. A hot breeze danced across our picnic table, trying to nudge us into a good mood. The sun was shining, birds were singing, but looking at Roxy and Teddy's glum mugs, you wouldn't have known it. Hey, you guys, come on. It's the last day of school, remember? The holiday of all holidays? No more teachers, no more books, I said. I hopped off of the wooden bench and karate chopped my chem notebook, sending it sailing into the soft grass. Teddy giggled, but Roxy didn't crack a smile. Zan, how can you be so happy after what happened to Deirdre? She asked. Deirdre Roberts was found strangled to death in the parking lot behind the science building 2 days ago. No one knows why or how it happened. A janitor found her next to her car late that night. She had purple bruises around her neck, and her car keys were in her hand. We had a big assembly the next morning about safety and always having a buddy around school. It was awful. A lot of the teachers were crying, and students were mostly just plain shocked. Her funeral was being held next week. Because summer's my favorite time of year, I said. It's totally devastating what happened, and it's way sad, but life should go on. Don't forget the junior year will officially be donezo after exams next week, and the bonfire party is tonight. I don't know if I can go, Teddy said. My parents don't really want me going out if there's a strangler on the loose. Teddy, dude, come on. Katie's dad is out of town, and you know she has a bangin' beach house. It's our last chance to drink and dance out our demons before the big study crackdown, I said. He shrugged. Teddy and I have been best buddies since middle school. When I started dating Roxy, I went up several notches on the popularity scale, and Teddy made the transition with me from obscurity pretty much by default. You gotta go. It's an annual tradition, I said. You can't not go. I don't know. I don't really feel like partying tonight, Roxy said. I sat back down, joining her at her side. That's crazy talk, Rox. This is a kickoff party to the rest of our lives. This is the first summer where we can all drive, I said. True, Josh Kyle said as he walked by our table. He was one of the best players on our basketball team. And it's also the first summer where we can drink and drive. Let's get liquored up and crash into a tree tonight. Deirdre would have wanted it that way. He broke out into a loud burst of Josh cackles. Roxy tossed her empty milk carton at him. That's so not funny, Josh. Rent a soul, she said. He rolled his eyes and slapped me a high five. I'll see you fools tonight at the bonfire party, he said. Yeah. That guy's kind of an Adolf, Teddy said. Roxy was already over it. I mean, Deirdre Roberts was your lab partner, Zan, and she helped you with all those lab reports. Doesn't that bug you at all, Roxy asked. I got up to retrieve my chemistry notebook. Deirdre had the reputation for being a brain. She never went to any parties and kept mostly to herself, and it was true, she was my lab partner in science. Even though I'm a pretty smart guy, she did almost all of the work herself and hardly said a word. Early on in the semester, I would try to talk to her about something other than Bunsen burners and hydrochloric acid, but I eventually gave up. She was uber studious and always turned in our lab reports for us. Science is my only class that kept me from having straight A's, but every lab report that she turned in always upped my grade. I just feel guilty having fun or something, Roxy said. Why? Teddy asked. You're not the one who gave her the big squeeze. She shrugged. Well, I'm going to find a way to sneak out of the house. I think Zan's right. Tonight's going to be rad, Teddy confirmed. A smile crept up on my face. That's the summer spirit, Ted. You want to meet at the pier around 8-ish, I asked. He nodded and flicked me a thumbs up. Yeah, this summer's going to rock our socks off. You're always so positive despite all the stuff that's happened to you. How do you do it, Roxy asked. Witchcraft, I said. I slid my arm around her shoulder and went in for a kiss. I mean, junior year has been a mini nightmare for you, she said. What do you mean, I asked. Well, for starters, your parents separating, and then that awful car wreck you got into that so wasn't your fault, and your dad made you pay for it. Yeah, well, I said, I got a pretty good tan mowing all those lawns to pay it off. That's not even half of it. You had to give up Flippy because of the whole cheating thing. Did you ever find out who tattled on you, she asked? I shook my head. Remember when I said that science wasn't my best subject? Well, one night after an awesome game that our team won.
Go Dolphins!
I kind of forgot to study, so even though I hate to admit it, I did sneak a look at a few answers I texted myself. Someone told on me, and I had to give up being the basketball team's mascot, Flippy the Dolphin. I know all that, I said, but it's totally Esther. You're amazing, Roxy said. She stared at me, her eyes still so sad. I can't believe it took you this long to figure that out, I said. I breathed in her tangy strawberry smell. I had a crush on Roxy Benton for 2 years or so, but this time last year, Teddy and I were pretty much invisible. I'm no good at sports or a supermodel, so this basketball season I decided to make a change. I tried out for Flippy the Dolphin, the school mascot. Try out for the school mascot, my dad had said, putting down his newspaper to give me a pointed stare that night I told him. A boy like you should be playing sports, not being some glorified cheerleader. It's true. Some people might think that would make me a total loser, but it actually put me on the map. I saw Roxy every game night, and everyone got to know me. I did this killer fin wiggle with my big foam tail that always got the crowds roaring. Teddy seems really excited about the bonfire party, Roxy said. Yeah, well, he wants to make up for last year's disaster, I said. What do you mean, Roxy asked. Oh, you don't remember? Josh Kyle and his buddies poured beer all over the two of us, and Teddy almost fell into the bonfire, I said. Oh my gosh. That was you two? The kid who ran into the ocean screaming, "My hair, don't let my hair burn off," Roxy said, cracking up. I nodded and offered a smile. Wow, we laughed about that for weeks. We didn't, I said. Oh, Zan, I'm so sorry. Was I really that awful to you back then, she asked. I shrugged. She gave me a sympathetic look as the bell rang. I'll pick you up at 7:30, I said. The last class of junior year zipped by. There was a lot of hooping and hollering when the final bell rang. Kids poured into the halls cheering and laughing and talking about summer plans and, of course, the bonfire party. The party's gonna be nothing like last year, I thought to myself. I got a burst of energy and ran to my car, visions of summer fun dancing in my head. As we reached the pier, I turned down a sandy side street and parked in this killer spot that Teddy and I had found as soon as I got my license. Last year, we got a ride to the bonfire party, but beer-soaked and singed, Teddy and I had to make the long walk home because our ride had left without us. After I flicked off the ignition, I grabbed Roxy's hand. Tonight is going to be the best, I said. Roxy smiled back and gave me a big kiss. I wrapped my hand around the back of her head and she pushed her lips hard against mine, desperate and needy. I gave in, pressing back harder. Then she pulled away. She touched the side of my face and gave me a long, meaningful look. We got out of the car and I quickly took her hand as we walked up to the pier to see Teddy standing there. What's up, guys? My parents think I'm getting a jump start studying at the library for exams. I just have to text them every 30 minutes. Suckers, he said. I slapped him a high five with my free hand as the three of us walked up to Katie Sanders' beach house. The party was raging. Even though it was barely after 8, there was already a crowd of people in the kitchen spilling margarita mix everywhere. I heard the thudding bass of a hit summer song blaring from speakers near the beach. It felt awesome to walk in with Roxy on my arm, the way it should always have been. Flippy, what's up, dude? We're seniors, George Randall said to me as I walked in. He was wearing a big straw hat and maybe 4 different lays around his neck. I cheered with him as we made our way to the back of the house. Roxy ducked out of my grasp to go talk with some friends of hers she saw inside. Teddy and I made it through the backyard, where the beach melted into the ocean. A hazy purple sun had almost completely dipped below the horizon, orange tiki torches casting smooth shadows over the sand. They lit the way to the bonfire, which was just beginning to crackle to life. Just don't get too close to the fire, Teddy, I said. Shut up, Zan, Teddy said. Katie Sanders strolled up in a barely there bikini and ripped denim shorts. She had 2 green cups in her hands, shoving one in my face. Hey, stud, welcome to your very first bonfire party, she said. She giggled, her curls bouncing. Thanks, Katie, I said. She clanged our drinks together in a cheer. I wasn't too sure about you at first, Sam, but any guy that Roxy dates is okay in my book, she said. One of the football guys barreled up and yanked her into his arms. He ran toward the ocean, threatening to throw her in. A couple of kids laughed and cheered. See ya, Katie, I said. I moved my body to the beat and took a big sip of the green party mix. I looked back over to the house. Everyone was dancing and laughing and chatting. But then I saw Roxy in the center of her friends in the living room. They all looked concerned, placing their hands on her shoulders. She shook her head while telling them something. I couldn't believe Deirdre Roberts' death was still upsetting her so much. Josh Kyle nodded at me from the corner, and I went to go join he and his buddies from the team. Go Dolphins, I said as I walked up, doing my trademark wiggle move. The bonfire party was a blast. This guy Brody got out his guitar and we sang popular songs but replaced some of the words with crude ones. A couple of people dared to go into the water, and one girl even lost her top. I was having a lot of fun, but Roxy still didn't seem to be in the party mood. Let's go for a walk on the beach, I said, walking up to her, face so sad and blue against the burning glare of the bonfire. She looked to her friend Stacy Ann, who gave her an extra nudge. Hey, Zan, Stacy Ann said with a flirty smile. I took Roxy's hand and we started walking away from the bonfire, away from the house. A fat half moon rose up in the sky, becoming our only light as we made our way further and further away from Katie's and deeper into the foggy blue night. Neither one of us spoke until we'd been walking for a good 5 minutes. This isn't easy, she said softly. A cool breeze whipped her hair into her face. I know, I said. I just don't want you to waste tonight being sad about someone you barely knew. It's not like Deirdre. Just stop, Roxy interrupted. She walked away from me towards the water with an exasperated sigh. She tucked her hair behind her ears and hugged herself. With her back to me, Roxy was just a dark silhouette against the quiet blue waves. But you weren't even friends with her, I said. This isn't about Deirdre, Roxy cried, turning around to face me. It's about us, San. I don't think this is going to work out. I stood frozen in the sand. She returned to face the water, so silent, so eerily silent. I was in shock. What do you mean? I asked. Roxy sighed. You're an amazing guy, a great guy, too great. I think we need to, I don't know, see other people, she said. What? Why? I asked. Come on, Zan. What we had was fun and great, but I've just been having all these thoughts lately about my future and you and me. I just don't think we're the right fit, she said. What? Oh, come on, Rox. We're perfect for each other, I said. I hopped in front of her and did my flippy wiggle. Her face was stone. You don't mean that, I said. This is a joke, right? You can't be serious. Zan, stop it. It's over, she said firmly. Waves lapped just a couple of yards away from our feet. I don't want to see you anymore, Zan. I've been wanting to tell you for a while, but I just can't see you anymore, she said. I stared deep into her eyes, not believing, not wanting to believe. The bonfire party was so far away, just a tiny orange dot, floating away into the ocean, my perfect summer floating away, drifting off into the blue fog. Do you mean it? I asked in a low voice. Yes, she said with a choked sob. A cloud slid over the moon, casting us in deep shadow. I understand, I said. You do? She asked. I understand what I have to do, I said. My hand shot out and squeezed her neck. Her eyes went wide and her hands flew up at her sides trying to stop me, but she wasn't strong enough. I pressed my thumbs deep and hard into her neck. Her eyes watered and her face started to turn an odd shade of red, then purple. She let out gasping sounds and her eyes looked so confused, so surprised and scared, just like Deirdre's had. Junior year was supposed to be perfect, but Deirdre just couldn't keep her fat mouth shut about me cheating on the science test. I had to make sure she got what she deserved. And did Roxy really think she could humiliate me in another bonfire party? Nope. Sorry, Roxy. You have to go. After one last big squeeze, she slumped over lifelessly in my arms. I dropped her body hard in the sand, making a heavy thudding noise. I grabbed her foot and dragged her through the sand to the water, to the dark, cloudy water. I skipped back to the party, a big white smile on my face. Hey, Zan, Josh called from the edge of the bonfire. You up for some beer pong? Oh, definitely, dude, I said. I slapped him a hard high five and cheered. Yeah. Bonfire parties are always the best. And oh man, was this summer gonna rock?